So the next thing we're going to do is wrap our SMTP. We're going to go ahead and add a new class. This is going to be SMTP service. And this is going to be an internal interface. Service wrapping SMTP interactions. Which just sounds smart for that one. All right. Now we need our models here, so we're going to have a new set of classes and responses. So this is going to be send SMTP message request. Add class. Send SMTP message response. This is actually going to be basically the same as this one, because we're going to use that message to build it out. So we're just going to come down here to the request, and we're going to just pass in. Ooh. I honestly probably could have just added that to the request. Copy and pasting may actually be taking longer, but oh well. There we go. So this is the message to send. Internal request for sending SMTP message. Perfect. Intern response for sending SMTP message. And we're actually not going to expect anything back from the SMTP server on this, so we're just going to go with the generic. So all we need is these two items here. And I forgot to put in an XML comment. Response for building message. Did I at least get the request? I did. Good. All right. Okay. All right. So now we've got those two set up. So let's go ahead and finish our service setup here. So this is going to be build. Oh no. Send SMTP response. Message response. Again, just use IntelliSense. It'll handle our using. And this is going to be send SMTP message. And we're going to put our request there. So send request. Method for sending an SMTP message. Request with information on message to send. Success or list of errors. Perfect. So we got that done. Now let's go ahead and add the actual implementation of it. So class. And this is going to just be SMTP service. Internal class. And actually, we don't have any dependencies we're injecting into this. We're assigning everything inside, so we don't need to do a constructor this time. All right, let's go snag some verbiage real quick. And this guy. Perfect. All right. So, same pattern. We build out our response first. set success to false because we always assume we failed until we succeed. Same deal. Try. Then we're just going to go snag the catch real quick. So all this can just be copied straight over. There we go. And then we're going to have to add the system reflection. There we are. Okay. Now let's go ahead and actually start setting up our stuff. So for this, we're going to need to actually set up our SMTP and our mail message. Let's just do generic validation real fast. If request. Come on. Can't see what I'm doing right now. There we go. Request rest equal to null or request dot message equal to null. Either of our objects are not set that we need. We're gonna bomb. Throw new exception invalid request. All right. Ooh. There we go. Now, let's actually start doing some other stuff. Let's first configure our mail message, which results in us having an error, of course, because we need to add the using system.net mail. There we go. Mail. Go to new mail message. Create. Assign message details. All right. So we've got our mail message. We're going to set our to. Now, first, let's do from equal to quote new mail message. New mail address, there we go. Request dot message dot, and this is going to be our sender, I believe. Yeah, or user. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Mail dot I'm actually going to copy this mail message piece here because we're going to be using that a lot for assignments. And make sure you don't get the period whenever you're copying because the period will bring up the IntelliSense for it. So there we go. Mail.subject. I don't know why you did that, but whatever. There we go. And then mail.body. Here's body HTML. There we go. All right, so that assigns our message. Now we're going to go ahead and build out our SMTP server. So create SMTP server. We've got our SMTP client. And that is SMTP equal to new SMTP client. And we're going to put in our server information. Perfect. Then we're gonna do Smtp dot port credentials to new system dot network dot net dot that went all kinds of wrong. There we go. Credential quote username, comma, and password. All right, we've got the port credentials. Oh, we need to tell it that it shouldn't use our default credentials, but we want to specify them instead. So there we go. False. All right. And now we just need to send the message. Send quote mail. Now that the mail is sent, let's set the response to success. All right, that's complete. So now we've built all the pieces as far as what we're needing to send the message. Now we need to expose these pieces to the outside. So we're actually going to add our notification service now, which is going to be how things interact with this given library. Perfect. And for this time, since we are allowing things to access this externally, we actually need to set this to public right off the start, because they're going to need to instantiate this. All right. And we're going to do the send response request pattern. So we need the send notification request. And what are we expecting the outside to give us? Well, we're expecting them to give us these items here. So let's come back here. Where are you? The notification request. We need to replace the internal with public, because they are going to need to assign all these. And there we go. Request object for sending notification. And then we need the response piece of this. And response. There we go. Perfect. Same deal. This needs to be public because it's going to be available publicly. So it'll be seen by our outside applications. Response object for sending notification. All right. And again, we're going to set these to public. All right. Now let's come to the service we created for the iNotification. There's the interface. So this is going to be send notification response. There we go. Send notification. Send notification request, request. Perfect. Request method for sending a notification. Request with details on notification to send. Returns. Success. Or list of errors. All right. So that handles that piece. Now we just need to implement the interface. And again, this is going to be... Actually, let me think here for a second. With the interface being public, I don't think the implementation needs to be. We're going to try it without it being. Because we just want people to call the interface, we don't want them to directly be able to call this class. Now, for this, we're going to have two different things we're going to need to bring in. So we're going to do our private read-only. We're going to need the factory. Again, we're going to use IntelliSense right here to actually get this to the right one. There we go. Factory. Then we're going to do the same thing right here. We're going to do private read only. And this is going to be our SMTP service. The reason we're doing this is we don't want the notification factory to directly do anything. So it should just build something and pass it back. The actual logic of, hey, I got this message, I now need to send to the SMTP, we want to handle that external to the factory. So inside this main service that we're going to be using. Instance of the SMTP service. All right. Now we need to create our constructor. So public notification service. Ooh. There we go. Then we need to pass in each of these services that we're going to be using. There we go. That's a lot better. Just had my CPI way too high. There we go. So SMTP service equal to SMTP. And notification factory equal to notification factory. Perfect. And let's go ahead and comment this real quick. Constructor for notification service last and dependency for perfect. All right. And now we're going to go ahead and do notification service. And let's implement it. Did I not? Right there. I don't know why I didn't find it, but we're just gonna implement interface. There we go. All right. And let's copy our method information. Perfect. All right. And again, we're going to follow the same pattern. Response equal to helps if you remember to do new. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we need to actually implement it, which errors equal to new list string, and success is not true. It did not succeed. At least not yet. There we go. Try and catch. And we're actually going to go snag this real quick. Because again, these are very routine across all of my stuff. Go. All right, just like that, the basics are implemented. Now we need to implement the actual logic of this, which the logic is pretty simple. We're going to send our request information to the factory. The factory is going to build it, and then we're going to send the message that is built to the SMTP service. So if request equal null, our basic first little validation piece here that just says, hey, you have to give me something. I will not work in and of myself. Throw new exception. Invalid request. You'll notice a lot of this is relatively repetitive as far as the validations and all those. You can try to do things to minimize that, but for now, we're just going to worry about getting this basic, well, this is more of an intermediate setup. As I said, this has a lot of stuff in it that a basic one doesn't need, but this is more of a professional grade one. Like, you would actually have something probably similar to it, depending on the company you're working for. All right. Let's see here. All right, so we need to call our factory. So we got var build response resp equal to underscore notification factory dot build message quote new. All right, let's build our item there by doing that. Request dot, and let's copy the request piece of it because we're going to be using it for the next couple. Request dot message comma and subject. Perfect. So now that we built it, we're going to validate our response that we'll get back from it. Build response, build null, or build response dot success equal to false equals. Sorry. So one's an assignment, one's a comparison statement, or, and this is the last one, build response dot errors dot count greater than 0. Perfect. And we're going to throw new exception. Invalid response from notification factory. Perfect. Moving on. We then have that object done, so we're going to do var SMTP response equal to, and we've got our SMTP service dot send SMTP message new, and there we go. and we need to actually set the message equal to the build response message. Perfect. And then again, we need to validate. And as long as this validates, we have successfully sent our message. We're just going to replace all that with this piece. Valid response from SMTP service. Perfect. All right, and now we're going to set response.success equal to true. All right, so that's everything we need as far as logic goes for this library setup. The last thing we need to do now is actually set our dependencies, which is going to be done in the module. So add. We're going to do add a class, and this is going to be our notification module. The reason I'm doing this here is all of our dependency injection should happen inside the class library. If you're having to worry about handling the dependency injection of it in the classes that you're using, I mean, it violates the separation of concerns. You want the application that's going to be using the dependencies to handle the dependencies. So we're first going to do public, because this module is going to need to be reachable inside of whatever services we're using. And it's an Autofac module. And we're going to do a protected override void. And we're going to do the container builder. So we're going to take the container builder passed in, which is our container for our dependency framework. So there's using Autofac. And we're going to do builder, which is very common nomenclature. Module, there we go. All right, now let's actually set it up. So I don't know why I didn't. Oh, oops, forgot to load. There we go. So that's the first part of the setup. So let's first implement our services, or register our services. So we're going to do builder.register type. And we've got a wide variety of them. So we're going to do, is it going to just, there we go, services.dbService.as. And we're going to set it to services.idbService. So we're saying for this project, we're going to implement the interface idbService as dbService. Instance. Instance for lifetime scope. Perfect. All right. We've got a couple other services to register. We're going to go ahead and just copy this to register them. So we've got our DB service done. We now need to do our notification service. And we need to do our SMTP service. And make sure you get the interfaces right for those, because of course the DB service can't implement the notification service because they're not the same type. There we go. And I didn't get the interface. And ISMTP service. All right. We next need to implement our factory. So we got our factories, services, factories. And this is going to be relatively similar. The only really special one is how we're going to handle our database registration. So this is going to be factories instead, and this is going to be our notification factory. And iNotification factory. Perfect. All right. Next, we're going to do our last one, which is we're going to register our database. This one's going to be a little wonky. So, builder.register, and then we're going to use lambda, which again is just a generic way of doing a function inside of the call. So new db context options builder. Entity framework core, perfect. Then we need to specify what it is. So this is going to be notification context. So we're going to register our database context. Again, we're going to have to quick action refactor. There we go. Use so we've got that piece there. Then we need to do the use SQL Server. Use SQL Server. It's gonna let me find it. It's not. So we're missing something that we need as far as being able to use the actual SQL Server here. One second, let me check some Nugets out real fast. Because we're probably just missing a Nuget package that this is dependent on, so let's see what we got here. Installed. So we've got Entity Framework Core, we're missing the Entity Framework SQL Server. So Microsoft Entity Framework Core.SQL Server. There we go. All right. Let's wait for it to get that package in. We accept. Perfect. Now that we have that in, we should be able to, yep, use SQL Server. So, next setup is the connection string. Which I'm going to snag mine real quick. All right. So for connection string, I'm actually going to show you my password I've set up for the SQL Server and that login, which is not anything special. So you've got your computer, the SQL Express instance, or if you did the other database, you're going to use whatever that other database's name is. You set the default database to notification, which is the database we created. We're going to say it's trusted. We're going to set our user ID to the user we created and set our password to the password you set for that user. And then we got to do options because we want the options from that because we're looking for the DB options builder, right? Now here's the next part. We want to do externally owned, which is saying that Autofac is not going to own the scope of this. It's going to be externally owned. It's going to be owned inside the application itself. Then the last thing we need to do is builder.register type, notification context, dot instance for dependency. All right. So that should be everything we need as far as this library goes. Save, build, clean solution. Of course, we're not going to be able to run this. We're actually going to have to do the same thing we did before, where we're going to create a tester app that uses it. So we're going to come up to the solution here. We're going to go add, new project, .NET Core, next. And this is going to be enter console tester. Great. Now, the thing is, since we set up dependency injection, we need to make sure we inject the module on that particular code, or on this particular console app. So we're going to go to... We're going to add in some garbage Autofac stuff. Well, not garbage Autofac stuff, but we're going to add in the Autofac's recommended implementation of it. So if you actually come out to that Autofac link I sent, which is this guy right here, specifically this piece right here, it tells you how to go about registering Autofac inside of a .NET Core application, which is what we're going to be using. So we're actually going to be just copying most of this here, actually all of that there. We're going to be going ahead and manage Nuget packages. We need to add Autofac. Autofac. You switch to browse. So we're going to install our Autofac. Okay. Then we're going to install Microsoft Dependency Injection. Microsoft.extensions. Dependency injection. There we go. All right. So now we're going to come here and we're going to paste that stuff we set up, which is the container builder and all that. And we're going to use quick action refactoring. We're going to use the Microsoft dependency injection. We're going to use the Autofac dependency injection. And this registration here is actually what's going to change. Oh, I forgot an extension. Manage Nuget packages. We actually need the Autofac extension as well. So come back here and install that guy. And let's just hope it lets me install. There we go. Sometimes if your code's in an error state, it won't let you use some stuff. And now we're just going to do Autofac. Using Autofac dot extensions dot dependency injection. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not recognizing the add logging. I'm wondering if I have the wrong version of core selected for this console app. That's why I pulled up the properties there. It's going to take a second, though, apparently, to implement. We're actually going to be changing the registration here, though. So this is where we're going to register our Autofac module. So we're going to go ahead and... Oop, can't forget to add a dependencies here, so... At project reference, we're going to reference our utility we just built. And then we're going to go container builder dot register module new, and this is going to be enter notification dot module dot notification module. So now we've just registered that dependency, so all those should get registered based off that module we created. The next piece we're going to need to do is actually set up the scope. So we need to say, hey, I need to resolve this, because we're not looking to build out a full application here. We're just building something to test with. So var scope equal to scope dot resolve. Oop. Sorry. was getting ahead of myself. Container.begin lifetime. Scope. Now, as long as we're inside of here, we'll be able to pull the scopes from Autofac. So we've got our var notification service is equal to scope.resolve. And this is the I enter notification dot services dot I notification service. So we're saying, hey, I want you to resolve this service for me. And very similar to before, we're actually going to need to go up and set some Build Args. Or bring in Build Args, because I'm not going to spam out my cell phone number to the world. So our response here is equal to notification service dot send notification quote new. Perfect. And message testing enter notification type equal to. And again, we're going to just do Verizon because that's what I got, but we're going to go ahead and mess with the spelling again, just to prove that our string comparison variant culture is capable of catching that. Recipient equal to, and we're going to do our build args bracket 0, because we're only going to pass in 1 this time, which is going to be my number in this case, or your number, or whatever you're using to test. And then the subject, testing advanced.net standard library setup testing enter. Perfect. So we've got all that there. Again, just like before, you got to come into properties here and then go to debug, and we're going to add our build argument here. I'm going to move this off screen real quick to actually add that build argument in, which is just my phone number. For yours, it'll be your phone number. So let's go ahead and add that real quick. Save it. Close that. And again, whenever we create that, you get your properties and launch settings, where it's the JSON that actually contains that setting. And we should, I think, be good to test. So let's go ahead and save everything. Now we're going to need to come to this here, and we're going to go to properties, and we need to set it to use the interconsole tester. But it is actually going to run this application, not the other one. And we're going to go ahead and put a breakpoint here. Let's go ahead and assign some different breakpoints. We're going to go into the services. Let's do a DB service. And I want to validate this piece here. Validate this piece here. And I'm going to put a breakpoint in the exceptions because I want to catch those explicitly, just in case anything goes wrong. And then our notification service, we're going to just do a breakpoint here. And let's see how it goes. All right, I think we're good to run. We're going to hit F5, and let's see what happens. All right, so we managed to at least implement the notification model. We've got our scope resolved. We're going to resolve our service, so we actually resolved the service. All right. So let's go ahead and F5. We should hit our nice. So we made it in. Our injection for our notification service was fine. So it was able to be internal for this. Request equal to null. And if you actually hover over this, it'll tell you that whether or not it's true. So that is false. So it's actually going to continue on. We're going to hit our factory, which in return makes it over to our get credentials request, which our request is empty here. And here's the big thing. Did we get the database context down? We did. We pulled credentials. No exceptions triggered. For this one, I can actually show you what we're pulling. So we're coming here. we pull the notification types. By the way, debugging that lower statement is difficult because of the whole multi-threading, but we've actually pulled in, yep, there's all of our stuff. We're going to build that out, which it just takes, it's nothing whenever you're using a parallel for this. Response. So that's fine, that's fine. We build our response. All right. We've got our response built. It is not null. It is not false. And the errors is not below 0, so not going to fall into there. We're going to go ahead and send our SMTP message. SMTP message should have sent. Let me check my phone real quick. Nice. Testing enter. Params. Testing advanced in .NET Standard Library Setup. There we go. And so we just successfully sent that notification. The application's now done. So that there is how you can set up that piece, which just phenomenal. So we managed to build the basic one. We've now finished building the more advanced setting. I still have a little bit of time left, so let's go ahead and start working on the Service Fabric version of this.